Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's something serious. Where my girls at? We link up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
It's going down, it's going down, it's going down, it's going down. I am your host, Crisette Ellis, and you are listening to We Got Issues on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation WFDF radio right here in Detroit, but it's on the Superstation iHeartRadio, so it is broadcast all over the world. And we're excited to be here with you on this thoughtful Thursday. Or you might say it's a thankful Thursday, but we're excited to be with you. We come to you every week, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. And you are here with my girlfriends, the force of friendship. And when I tell you, it is always so good. I mean, we have 30 years of friendship. And I would say, I think we're in, I want to say going on into our 9th month on being on We Got Issues. And I promise you, in the 30 years, we ain't seen each other this much. In 30 years, okay?
Ever.
Every single day, Monday through Friday. But when I tell you, it is a joy to see their beautiful faces each and every day. And we come to you bringing the laughter, the light, and the lessons. And you know the girlfriends, they're classy, they're messy, they're bossy, they're tacky, they're nosy, they're all of it. And you know what? It takes all of them to make the world go round. And we're just excited that you are taking time to hang out with us on today. And when I tell you, we try our best to bring you conversations that will enrich you, that will empower you, that will impact you. And I guarantee you, our conversation today will not only do that, but it absolutely could save a life. So please call a neighbor, call your girlfriend, and tell them they got to catch us on today, because today we're going to be talking about breast cancer prevention. And I'm going to read some statistics a little bit later, but this is a conversation that you absolutely don't want to miss. We know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we had a young lady on just last week, Dawn Floyd, who talked about her breast cancer journey. She's a survivor, and from her pain to purpose, she started the organization My Sister's Pink Journey, which is a phenomenal organization based right here in the Detroit metropolitan area. And so on today, you guys, I am so excited about our guests. We have a phenomenal doctor, Dr. Eleanor Walker, who is the director of Radiation Oncology right at Henry Ford Hospital. And when I tell you, she is a bad sister. She's a much sought after speaker, and we've had her on several occasions to talk about breast cancer. So if you have questions about breast cancer, trust me, she's the right one to answer your questions. So we want you to lean into this conversation. Maybe you have a family member or friend who might be challenged right now going through breast cancer and they have some questions. Absolutely. This is a time you want to tell them to listen in, and they might have a question. They can call us at 313-778-7600. So again, I can't wait to bring her to the stage in just a few minutes, but I want to check in with my girlfriends because I know there is a lot that's going on. And I'm going to throw it over to Sabrina Goodwin Monday in Geneva Lake, Ohio. What's up, Sabrina? What's happening?
Oh my goodness, 80 degrees in the Ohio area. Everybody says it's just unreal, unseasonable, doesn't make any sense. And I'm like loving it. but they said we better pull out those fur coats come this weekend. So they said this will probably be the last day like this for the season, and winter is going to settle in. And so I'm enjoying this beautiful weather. Was a bit concerned at first. They said you couldn't mix vaccines to get the booster. If you got Pfizer, you should get Pfizer. If you got Moderna, stick with the Moderna booster. Well, this morning they were saying, hey, you can mix and match. And if you mix and match, you're even going to be better protected than everybody else. And I was like, you know what? I don't know who to believe or what to believe. And so, of course, Crisette is the only one who did Moderna, and she's waiting on her booster.
I'm waiting.
And I called Crisette all excited and said, girl, you can get your booster. She's like, no, I don't think so.
Tell the rest of the story. Now, of course, I'm not about to mix vaccinations. I'm waiting on Moderna. So I'm talking to Sabrina, and she told me what she heard, and her husband, Kenny, I'm calling Kenny out. You can get it. Go on and get it. Go on and mix it. The scientist said it's safe, it's okay. And Sabrina talking about he be the main one at your funeral crying, talking about, please don't tell her I said, go ahead, she can mix the vaccinations. I was like, nah, Kenny, you're a wrestler. Stay in your lane. I'm gonna wait for Moderna to come out with their booster.
Exactly. Caterina, what's going on, girl, in California?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think you got us beat for a minute. You know, there's always living between Chicago and the San Francisco Bay Area. It's always a trip because my Chicago family loves telling me those few days a year when it's warmer there than it is here. So you might have us beat, but you know, it's only going to be for a minute, right? So it's a beautiful day here. It's a beautiful day. And again, I love having help, y'all. I miss having help in my house
for real
because of COVID. We have not had help in my house, and so for an entire week, I've had 2 people helping me in my home office, and it just you feel like clean, like like Patty LaBelle. It's so good. I'm like, oh my goodness, that it's just a great feeling. I love organization. So that's what's excited up in here. I just it makes my heart sing when I can find something. And we got a lot to throw away. But did y'all hear about a lot? I mean, there's just so much, but the passport, the vaccine passport that you now need for Canada and Mexico. So they just opened those borders. So I guess whatever it takes to open those borders.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. Yeah. So we just came back from Canada, and all we had to have was information stating that we were COVID free. We had a test and that we were negative. Now they're saying we have to do something in addition to that.
Well, you know, a lot of people have been talking about the vaccine passport. And so I don't, you know, maybe somebody call in, talk about it, whatever, but that is what I'm understanding. I don't know if it had been approved or if that's the direction it was going, but that you need to show proof of vaccination. I'm not even sure. Is it proof of vaccination and or a test?
Well, you know what? I take that back. When we went across the border, we did have to show our vaccination card that we had both doses. Plus, we had to show that within 78 hours, we had taken a test and it came back negative. Now, what's really interesting, we could go to Canada, but the Canadians cannot come across the U.S. border.
That's the part that opened up. That's the part that opened up. They can come here. That's the part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mexico.
Wow.
So imagine families that hadn't seen each other or hadn't been able to come home. Or
it's a big deal. 18 months, and now they're open. So that's a big deal.
It's a long time. It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time. It's all a long time. It's all a long time. I get my shot tomorrow. Boop, 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 boop. Booster.
Me too.
I will be a
booster. Get mine soon. I will be the only girlfriend on We Got Issues. How did you all get Pfizer and I'm the only one that got Moderna?
That was my question.
I got mine first. Didn't I get my shot first before the rest of you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's okay.
And now you last. You first, now you last. Okay.
You're so so kind, Sabrina. You're
that's
so
what the
kind.
scriptures say.
Speak it, Chris. Speak it. Because one day it'll come true. Manifest. So I'm
Gloria,
excited
you're
about
looking
today's show.
beautiful in your orange shirt. What's going on in Baltimore?
Thank you. Baltimore is good. The weather's good. It's a little cloudy. What the heck? Just be happy. It's Thursday. Just be happy. It's a lot going on, a lot happening all over the place. Just getting ready to hit Chicago, ready to go to Barbara Bates fashion show.
I'm going.
It's going to be so great. Just trying to get all these airline tickets, and Southwest Air is giving me a headache. What are you flying in on, Chris?
Delta.
You're flying in on Delta, yeah. So Delta out of Detroit, Southwest out of Baltimore. So we're going to make it happen. So it's going to be fun. My sister lives there. I got a lot of friends in Chicago, so I'm looking forward. I haven't even looked at the weather, but it's all good. It's Thursday. I'm having a great day.
Get to go to a couple of your favorite stores, Gloria. A couple of your favorite.
Oh, yes.
Your new favorite store. You got to hit all three of them.
I'm going there, and I'm going to find. I need some shoes, y'all, for real. I need some shoes, really. I need some shoes. I need some shoes. That's all I need to say. I need some shoes, and then I'm done. I'm finished.
Baby needs
for a
shoes.
while.
Baby needs shoes. And you know when baby needs shoes, mama get that baby some shoes. All right? Go get the shoes, Gloria.
I need some shoes, and then I'm good. I haven't bought any shoes in 2 years, pretty much. So it's time. But that's it.
Hey, you know what? And on the real deal, our feet absolutely had to get reacclimated to putting on heels, because I promise you, I've had on some heels a couple of times, but to be honest, I've not really gone a lot of places that required that I dress up to the place where I need on heels. And it's something about looking at my flats and looking at my heels. My flats are my heel, and I automatically go to the flat. So my feet have to really get adjusted to wearing heels again. So it is what it is, but we're going to go ahead and move into our conversation on today. And I'm so excited about our guest that's with us today. She has a wealth of knowledge. Her background is one that is stellar. I don't even have 10 minutes to go over her entire bio, but let me just give you, before we bring Dr. Walker in, let me just give you a few statistics. On the average, every 2 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States. Every 2 minutes. In 2021, an estimated 281,550 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in women in the U.S., as well as 49,290 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer. 63% of breast cancer cases are diagnosed at a localized state. And then last but not least, this year, an estimated 43,600 women will die from breast cancer in the United States. So needless to say, this is a very critical conversation that we need to have. So it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Eleanor Walker. Let's welcome her to We Got Issues.
Yay.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, we got you.
Absolutely can. Well, let me just tell you just a little bit about this phenomenal woman. Again, she has a stellar bio. She is a sought after speaker. We've had her come to our church and share during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But I want to give you just a little bit of her background. Dr. Eleanor Walker, she is the director of Breast Radiation Oncology, the medical director for the Center for Integrative Medicine at Henry Ford Cancer Institute. And again, her background is in oncology. And I'm just excited. As I said, her bio is extensive, but I want to go ahead and jump right into this conversation because I know that she has information that literally could save our lives. And so, Dr. Walker, again, we're so excited that you are joining us on We Got Issues on today. And so let's go ahead and delve right into this conversation. As I said in the very beginning, according to statistics, every 2 minutes, a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. So, Dr. Walker, those are some alarming statistics. And, again, my prayer is today that something will be said that will encourage women to get that mammogram, that will encourage them to start their monthly self-examinations, and that they will make better choices. So let's talk a little bit about the statistics. Why is breast cancer increasing, especially in Black and Brown communities?
Well, thank you, ladies, for inviting me to talk about this disease process that goes on. Unfortunately, 1 in 8 women in this country will get breast cancer, regardless of whether you have a family history or not. And so that's why as much prevention as we can do, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, is important. But the number one thing, women are being diagnosed because a lot of women are getting screened, which is a good thing. And as you said, when the disease is local, meaning it's small, we really want to find it before you feel anything, because those are the earliest stages. And with early detection, then you have the best potential for being cured of the disease. It's the most treatable at that time. Now, unfortunately, let me start before I say unfortunately. Since the 1980s, there have been improvements having mammograms and treatment for hormone positive or HER2 positive, which are the receptors. Does your cancer grow in the presence of the female hormones? Does it express the HER2 protein, which can be a marker for a more aggressive cancer? And it's been wonderful. We've had great development of drugs against these types of cancers. But unfortunately, because of Black women tend to have a more aggressive type called triple negative, meaning their cancers don't grow in the presence of the female hormones or not, and it doesn't express the HER2 protein, and it makes it more aggressive. And so Black women tend to get it at a younger age, and we haven't made as much progress. That's why it's important for women, especially Black women, but Black people in general, to participate in the national clinical trials that we have. Because when all of the studies are going on to look for new drugs, if we're not involved, they're not going to find something that works for us. They're going to go with what they find in the majority of people. And everybody's different, even between men and women. For years, they used the same treatments for colorectal cancer, for heart disease, thinking, this is the way people present. They're going to respond to this treatment. Well, that was because they didn't have enough women on the clinical trials years ago. And once they started having more women, they realized women react differently from men for certain cancers. And it's the same thing with breast cancer. Because of the Middle Passage and the slave trade coming to this country from Western Africa, particularly Ghana being one of the main areas that has the highest rate of triple negative breast cancer, we're more likely in this country as Black women to have a triple negative breast cancer. So we really have to be very forthcoming and get out there, grab your mom, grab your sister, your auntie, your niece, if she's old enough, to get your mammogram. I started the month off getting my mammogram, okay? And especially today, talking to all of you today is the day that my best friend from childhood, today would have been her 60th birthday, but she died from breast cancer at age 54.
Dr. Walker,
at age what?
At age
What was
60?
her age?
I'm sorry?
You know what? We're going to go to break right now. And when we come back, there are several questions that I want to ask you, Dr. Walker. You all are listening to We Got Issues on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation, and we're talking about breast cancer prevention. We're going to pay some bills, and we'll be right back. Our special guest is Dr. Eleanor Walker. We'll be back with you right after the break.
Hey, Facebook family. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining We Got Issues with the girlfriends, Sabrina, Caterina, Gloria, and Sabrina. We are here with Dr. Walker, and what a blessing it is to have a doctor in the house. We're going to ask her all the questions you want to ask. Make sure you call in to the station today. 313-778-7600. What questions do you have? Certainly you have questions. But can you believe, you guys, that every 2 minutes a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer? Every 2 minutes, that's a lot. And so we are talking prevention. We're talking early detection. We're talking how do you cope? We're talking how do you support family members? We know it's tough. I've got a couple of friends right now going through this situation. One has been diagnosed maybe 8-9 months ago. So she's deep into treatment, doing very well. And one who was very recently diagnosed. And so it's the shock of it all. It's the trying to lay out the medical team and see what's the best treatment for you. And like Dr. Walker said, she said the earlier detection, the more treatable it is. She said that we want to detect it before we can even feel anything. So we know self-examinations are very important. Do that on a regular. The mammograms are very important. So girlfriends, we're encouraging you to get tested, get tested, get tested. We have to be girlfriends for one another and ask each other, have you had your mammogram? Have you been doing your self-tested checks? We have to check on each other because really, you guys, we cannot just let it happen to us without being proactive. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive. And so we're so glad we got a doctor in the house. So make sure you call into the station with any of your questions. How are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? We're so glad that you're here Monday through Friday, 6 to 7. 6 to 7, Monday through Friday. You can reach us. All right, we're going back to the show.
All right, we're back. We're back. And again, you're listening to We Got Issues on 9:10 a.m., the Superstation with the Force of Friendship. Our guest on today is Dr. Eleanor Walker. And we are so excited that she is here with us because we're talking about breast cancer prevention. And so prior to us going to the break, we were talking about, the different forms of breast cancer that women can get. And one of my questions that I wanted to ask you, you talked a few minutes ago about getting involved in national clinical trials. And you know what? I'll be honest, with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I don't often hear about clinical trials that we can get involved in. So can you talk a little bit about that and how do we find out about these trials and how can we get involved in them?
Well, there are different ways. If you've gotten diagnosed with breast cancer, your physicians should be offering you any national clinical trials that are available. That is part of what we do, especially all of our patients are evaluated in our multidisciplinary tumor boards and clinics to see if there are any trials that they may be eligible for and sit down and talk with you. Now, in terms of maybe prevention trials, the American Cancer Society, the National Institutes of Health, they also will list on their web pages if there are any national clinical trials that they have open that you might be eligible for in terms of prevention. Also, Dr. Jagsy, who is one of our research scientists, who's from Ghana at Henry Ford, she and I have a trial that we just started looking at accrual of African Americans, and breast cancer being one of them, to clinical trials. And why is it that we don't participate in trials? And also talk to providers, because we know some providers aren't as forthcoming with us, right? They make decisions or decide that, oh, well, this person won't participate, where we know if we're offered something that might help us, we do. We just need our questions answered.
Right.
Wow, that is so good to know that there are trials for women that have breast cancer, and then sometimes there are also clinical trials for preventative measures. So that's really good. I didn't know that. And then I know the girlfriends, they probably have questions, but another question that I had, and sometimes women think that women who get breast cancer, they probably had a family member, a mother, a grandmother, a sister that had breast cancer, and so they think it's more genetic. Can you talk about the fact that you don't necessarily have to have anybody in your family to get breast cancer?
That is absolutely correct, Lady Ellis. The most women in this country, 1 in 8 women who get breast cancer, have no family history whatsoever. If you have a family history, then that's why it's important to start your screening early. And the big thing is, we as a community need to talk to each other. We don't talk in our families about the health issues that we have. And if we don't share cousins, aunties, grandparents, fathers, uncles, how are we going to know what we need to be evaluated for and screened and followed regularly to catch if we're going to get something because we have a genetic predisposition? Let's catch it early when it's most treatable. But we've got to talk. We've got to talk to each other.
And what would that conversation look like?
Well, sometimes it takes the child in the family to ask. But if you were to get diagnosed with breast cancer in your family, and this generally happens to a lot of people that I know, that I see who have been diagnosed, and I ask them, well, has anyone else in your family had a breast cancer, or or if it's a prostate patient, prostate cancer? And I don't know. Then they come back and they said, I let my family know that I had cancer. And all of a sudden, all these people who had cancer in the past come out. They didn't tell them before. They tell them now. And this is important, because if you have kids and you have a lot of people in your family who have had various cancers, you want to talk with a genetic counselor to see, is there a suspicion for a genetically related cancer? And then you can be tested and inform your family, and then they can make decisions about things. If they need to get screened for prostate or breast or pancreas, all of these things are so very important. But we've got to be open. We can't be scared to let our families know. I know some of our families have issues. We all do.
Right. We got issues for sure.
Right.
Dr. Walker, thank you for being here. Just a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much. We're excited to have a doctor in the house. A doctor in the house on We Got Issues. I have a question. I got my mammogram last year, and my doctor said that it was no longer necessary to get it annually. Tell me what that thought is. Why would she tell me that? And what do you know about that?
Well, the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force a few years ago decided that if you were you shouldn't start getting your screening until you're 50, and you can stop at 75, and you can get it every other year. Well, we know that there are people who are at higher risk. This does not work for them. The American Cancer Society still believes you should get your first mammogram at age 40. Oncologists believe you need to get it earlier, and basically continue to get mammograms unless, as you get older, if you know you're 80 and you're healthy and you're going to live another 5 to 10 years, praise God, then you should have an annual mammogram to catch something small. I'm trying to emphasize, you want to catch it early before it spreads, before you can feel it. So yes, you need to get a mammogram. You're a Black woman in the United States, and Black women have higher rates of triple negative breast cancer and get it at a younger age. So yes, we need to start screening definitely at age 40. But if you've had a family history, you should start screening about 5 to 10 years before the age of your youngest relative who had breast cancer. You need a baseline. You need a baseline mammogram.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I have a question.
Go ahead,
Yes,
Gloria.
I was just wondering, I saw your face when Sabrina asked the question. So why do they tell us to wait 5 years? What's in it for them if we're going to pay for it, or if it's going to be, why do they do that?
It's not money. They're looking at large epidemiological studies and outcomes, okay? And they're saying, to a certain extent, it is cost effective, but are we scaring too many women with false positives? Are we not doing a good job by doing it too often? We want to be able to see it. And it's not true. There are high-risk groups that need to be screened earlier and every year, such as triple negative Black women, Ashkenazi Jews. I mean, it's well known. And so if you talk to the oncology community, we are not in agreement with the United Preventive Task Force, which is why we write a lot of papers and talk and give our recommendations.
Wow. Okay.
And because remember, also the other thing is, I always use the example of Robin Roberts. We all know Good Morning America host, and she had a negative mammogram, and then a few months later felt a lump. Well, there are certain types of breast cancers, and the type she had is the one that tends to infiltrate the breast tissue and not necessarily form a mass that is seen on a mammogram. So, for example, if she wasn't examining her breast regularly, she wouldn't have caught that either. So it's important that we do two things. Know your body. Know when there is a change in your body. See your doctor and insist on getting a mammogram to be evaluated, with or without an ultrasound. So if they can't see it on the mammogram, it can be seen on the ultrasound.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. You have to be your best advocate now. We're advocates for everybody in our family but us.
Right. And it just I think a Black doctor understands our body better than another race. And so I always seek out Black physicians when I can. But that just goes to show, because the woman who told me, oh, Sabrina, you don't need to come back. And it wasn't like skip a year. She was like 3 or 4 years. And to me, that didn't feel right. Yeah, because all kinds of things can happen within 3 to 4 years. So I was like, I'm glad I moved out that state. I'm giving you another doctor. Yeah, thank you.
I can't speak enough about the advocate.
Oh, it's very important that you take care of yourself and be your own advocate. Very important.
Yeah.
Dr. Walker, I wanted to talk about that. I can't speak enough about being an advocate. Thank you so much for everything that you are sharing today. My mother was diagnosed in June of 2010 with infiltrating ductal carcinoma and had a partial mastectomy. And I walked through that with her. She is, praise God, healed and as she says, a breast cancer overcomer. But I just can't speak enough about how having an advocate, I can't imagine her having walked through that herself. I was so on it.
You were on it.
Not just saying that I was on it, but I had to be on it. I guess what I'm trying to say is the fact that I had to be on it. How many times I would go from this clinic to that clinic to this clinic, and they didn't have this, and they didn't have that, and they didn't have that, and they said she wasn't eligible for. It was just walking through that. Can you talk? I had 2 questions, but that was one of the questions I wanted to say is, can you talk to the audience members that are having to support a family member, a sister, a mother through this process, and how can they we hope that all of us have, if in this situation we have a doctor like a Dr. Walker, but how do you support someone as they walk through this process? Because it was overwhelming for me, and I wasn't the one going through the treatment.
Well, I think being there for the person, sometimes our friends and family don't ask. Be pushy, be there. And come with them to their appointments. Find out what the game plan is. Listen to what the healthcare providers are saying. And you can ask them if it's all right for you to tape what they're saying so that you don't forget something. But at Ford, we have whole teams for all cancers. We have nurse navigators and community health workers and social workers, and we all work as a team to be there for patients. We also have psycho-oncologists, because think about it, this is a lot. It's a lot. And having women supporting women or men, having sister groups like you four, always there to support each other, even if it's buying something for the patient, bringing food, helping in the house, getting together and get somebody to clean the house. Although I know right now with COVID, it's like a little iffy having someone in your house. But there are so many ways that you can do that. And the nice thing is the American Cancer Society also has caregiver groups to help you as an advocate. And it's always wonderful because it's a shock. Think about this. You think you're doing everything right, and suddenly this happens. Sometimes it's just paying a bill for someone so they don't have to worry about it. And we have a fund called Game on Cancer that we all raise funds for every year with the Lions, so that we have money. So when someone has a car note and they're not working during their chemo, so that they don't worry about paying their car note, which is their way to get to the hospital to get their treatment, right? Bring them food.
There was so much money. I couldn't believe how much money was available. I mean, my mother's her mortgage was paid. There was money to get her back and forth to and from the hospital, her electric bill, because as an only child, it was walking through this was very, very expensive and time consuming.
Right.
And I know a lot of people forgo that money just because filling out all those applications was a job in and of itself. I wanted to ask you a question. Everybody wants to be sure they're getting the best treatment. And we see, I know we're always limited in many cases by our health coverage, but sometimes even within the network, there are doctors that are different. How do you ask the right questions to know, should I go to one of the other, places that
health systems,
this is their specialty? How do you ask the right questions to know?
Well, first of all, there is a group called Sisters Network. That's national. It's all Black women breast cancer survivors.
Wow.
Okay? And if you look them up, on the 16th Saturday, they're having something national going on. So you might want to look them up online to see if you can get on virtually. But we have one of their groups here in the Detroit area. And so between Sisters Network, the American Cancer Society, the National Cancer Institute, you can go on there and Google and say, what questions should I ask if I get diagnosed with cancer? And a whole list of things will come down. Now, also, I want to say, if you're kind of iffy about the person you saw, please go get a second opinion. I personally do not take offense, okay? I want you to be comfortable because it's a relationship you and I are going to have for many years. So you need to be comfortable with the person who's treating you. Please know that if I don't like the way somebody treats me, I'm going to get a different doctor. And that's what you need to do. You've got to be comfortable with your care team.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. That's good.
Excellent.
Dr. Walker, I want to ask you about this. In 2013, Angelina Jolie underwent a double mastectomy so she wouldn't get breast cancer. She had what they call I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, prophylactic double mastectomy.
Prophylactic.
Okay, say it again.
Prophylactic.
Prophylactic. Thank you. Mastectomy. Can you talk about who should do that? Is that something you recommend? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. It's a discussion. If you have a genetically related breast cancer, so the BRCA gene or Li-Fraumeni syndrome, where we know you're at a very high lifetime risk of developing breast cancer, some women make the decision to go ahead and remove the breast tissue. Now, you can't get every little bit of breast tissue with a mastectomy, okay? They're trying to take as much as possible. So she did have a BRCA-related breast cancer, so she chose to have her breasts removed and have reconstruction to lessen the chances of her developing a breast cancer over her lifetime. It was a decision she made after discussing it with her doctors and I'm sure genetic counselors.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. So that is something that is recommended, or your doctor might recommend it if you have a high susceptibility of getting
meaning
breast cancer,
genetically related.
Genetics.
Yes.
Okay.
To just do it if you're a woman who you don't have any family history and you're just worried about getting breast cancer, no, that's detrimental to you. Also, even a woman getting breast cancer, if it's not in your family at all and you have breast cancer in its early stage, there is no reason to get both your breasts removed. The treatment of choice for early stage breast cancer is what we call breast conserving therapy, meaning we just remove the lump, check one or two of the lymph nodes or glands under your arm, and then you get radiation to the remaining breast tissue. And actually, that is a little bit better. The outcomes are a little bit better even than mastectomy in those stages, because when we radiate the breast, we're getting every little bit of breast tissue.
So I know the last time I went, talk to us about women who have dense breast tissue.
Oh,
I know I've gone, and you're kind of waiting with bated breath for that letter to come in the mail to say,
right,
you're okay, everything is fine. And for years, I got that letter, and then the last time I went for my annual, they said, oh, come back because we saw something, whatever. And I'm at the place where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it, because literally when you get that letter that it's not like perfect, everything is okay, to next year, your mind can go from 0 to 100. You're planning your funeral. I mean, that's how your imagination can run away with you. And so, I went back and, they checked it. And then after that, they wanted to do an ultrasound. So now you're like, oh, Lord, I got to do an ultrasound. But I was like, nope, just woosah, you're going to be okay. So they did that. So she came back and said they saw a little something that was small, but that, it was probably benign, nothing big. So they wanted me to come back in 6 months. So I came back in 6 months. They did the same thing. And then they said, oh, it's just a little something that we're going to monitor. So in those cases, what would be your suggestion when it comes to dense breast?
So when we talk about dense breasts, we mean your breasts aren't as fatty. They're firmer. They have more regular breast tissue as opposed to fat. As women get older, our breast gravity affects them. And they get a little flatter, some people. And so they have more fat. And when there's more fat in the breast, then it's easier to see any kind of masses or abnormalities in the breast. Now, younger women, and actually a lot of Black women, have denser breasts, okay? They don't have as much fat. So here we're talking about now a clinical trial. So there's a national clinical trial going on comparing the standard 2D mammograms to what we call 3D mammograms, or digital tomosynthesis. So basically, they're going to take the regular 2D mammogram from each side and up and down, but then it kind of swings around you And so it's like getting a CT, and it allows, it's more sensitive. So when the radiologist reviews your 3D mammogram, they see all the nuances, and sometimes areas that didn't show anything can show up. So that means when you get a 3D mammogram, you're less likely to be called back for something that they couldn't figure out before, because it'll be more definitive. Okay. And so there's a national study comparing 2D to 3D to see, can we really isolate the people who will need 3D as opposed to those that can just have 2D. And that's going on. There are over 10,000 women on that study right now. So that's available. So if you're going in to have your mammogram, you can inquire as to whether that study is open at the place you're getting your mammogram. We have it open at 4.
Okay, excellent.
Big. You know what? I have a question, Dr. Walker. You know, when we look at what's going on with breast cancer now, what have been the biggest advances in the last 3 years? We have a lot of collection going on.
The last how many years?
In like the last 3 years. So what have been the most latest, biggest advancement? Because I think when we know that, we're even more interested in providing funds so that more advancements can happen. But from where you're sitting, what have been the newest, latest advancements that help women?
Well, I think the advances in the last 3 years that we've seen is more 3D mammograms, absolutely. So we're more definitive in diagnosing cancers that we previously couldn't see in women. And then immunotherapy. That has been a big advantage because we're doing more molecular testing so the genetics of the actual tumor. There are a lot of drugs that have come out that we now, what we call immunotherapy, that modulate your immune system and is more effective in killing some of these aggressive breast cancers. So that's the big thing. And a lot of the work that we're starting to do, like what Dr. Jagsy does in the lab, and we're taking her work out of the lab and actually going to start clinical trials in the clinic on triple negative breast cancer.
Wow. And when you think about the genetics, and then you think about what we can physically do to reduce. Is it stress? Is it exercise? Is it food? Is it water? What are the preventative things that we can do that really can lower those numbers? Because 1 out of 8 is just massive.
It's all of that, where our society is stressed as is, and high cortisol levels create all kinds of things going on in our body. We need to exercise. The recommendation, my patients look at me every day and I said, now you can't say you don't see me in the gym, or at least saw me in the gym before COVID. But, you know, as Americans, we should be doing 150 to 225 minutes of cardio a week. Okay. How many of us actually get that in? Now, we're not saying going running or being on a treadmill all the time. Do creative things that you like to do. Walking, just brisk walking alone is very good. Look at what we eat, okay? We need to eat healthier, more plant-based. I'm not telling you to be a vegetarian or a vegan, because I'm not. I love my meat, but leaner cuts of beef, fish, portion size, plants. I mean, greens. We have so many fruits and vegetables. And then our spice cabinets. There are so many herbs that we can use to season food instead of salt that have antioxidants or protect, like garlic alone. There's so many things that garlic does. Ginger, turmeric, all kinds of things that they help our bodies with and have some anti-cancer properties too. You know, we need to be a little more creative. Maybe we need to have some cooking classes about that, you know? Open more restaurants with healthier ways. I have a friend who has a spice company that he's from the South, and he created spices that give you the same old good Southern cooking without all the sodium and fat, right? Those are the types of things we need to do. and try to decrease our stress, really. And doing all these things can help do that. Prevention, it said that 38% of cancers in the United States could have been alleviated with correct diet and exercise.
38%.
That's not just breast cancer. That's all comers. Okay, 38%.
Wow.
38%.
Wow.
That's huge.
That's a huge number.
And when you think about all those things, is the most important thing that our community do? Is it food or is it exercise? Like, if you had to say what our community lacks the most.
Both. It is both. We need to keep our weight down. It's all related, After a while, we just let it go. I mean, I'm not skinny, but I work hard at watching what I eat and make sure the things that I eat are healthy. Fruits and vegetables, so very important. It's apple season. I mean, my goodness, there are all kinds of apples out there, healthy yogurt. Try not to eat. I'm not saying to get rid of fat. Fat is important also, but eat the healthier fats, more nuts.
Right.
There are lots of nuts that we can eat, but we don't have to sweeten everything. I mean, I love sweet potato, but I put it in the microwave and nuke it most of the time and eat it just like that. No butter, nothing. The only during the holidays, like Christmas or Thanksgiving, will I candy my sweet potatoes. And that's even minimum. I'm just using a little bit of brown sugar and a little bit of cinnamon and bacon. Okay. I don't put, marshmallows and all that sweet oil. You have to amend it. It's okay to have ice cream every once in a while, but not every day, And
I have one more question, one more thing that I find to be so striking when we have important conversations like this. When we bring in brilliant women like you that are steeped in your profession, I hear this over and over again. We don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about breast cancer enough. We don't talk about exercise enough. We don't talk about our food enough. What can we do, or what do you see that we need to open up the conversation? Because that's like step number one. If we're not going to talk about it, then we're going to be ignoring it. And if we're ignoring it, there's nothing we're going to be able to shift. How are we going to shift people if everybody gets offended when you bring up the conversation of what will change our situation?
Well, you guys are doing it right now, number one. You are putting it out there for people to hear. It takes time. It's, for example, like people who smoke. When I get patients who come in, they have a cancer that is related to smoking, even if they don't have a cancer related to smoking, and you ask them about smoking and, I'm supposed to tell you to stop smoking. But the thing I learned over the many years that I've been in practice is you have to ask the patient if they're ready. Because if they're not ready, they're not going to be successful. And you have to support them until they are. You need to talk to your mother or your girlfriends. Have, like in churches or women's group, do activities that may be outside. I like to Latin dance. Now, right now, I haven't been doing too much because of COVID, but maybe with your close girlfriends, have something at your house where, all of you have had your vaccine and it's all right. Make plans to do things, go bowl, things that are fun, but yet give you the exercise that you need. And yes, we get defensive about being heavy, okay? But it's for your heart too. It's not just for cancer. It's for diabetes. It's for heart disease. Heart disease is still the number one killer in this country, okay? So diabetes.
So those numbers are worse than 1 in 8? Lord.
I'm sorry?
I said those numbers are worse than 1 in 8?
Oh, yeah. There is a lot of heart disease in this country, a lot of high blood pressure, kidney failure, and then we can't find matches when our kidneys fail for kidney transplants, right? Because we have a very diverse DNA profile, right? all of us came from Africa. So, you know, doing what? Being healthy, exercising, watching your weight, looking at how you cook. It's okay to cheat every once in a while. Drinking water, that's important. Okay, because that helps to fill you up. Your body's made of water. It needs to be replenished. So if you do that regularly and talk to each other, you just have to talk to each other. I mean, I have people who fight in our family. I have friends who are resistant too, but they know I'm going to bug them. I will talk to them over and over. One of my cousins years ago, when we were younger, he's a smoker. He got mad. I reached right into his pocket on his shirt and I pulled his cigarettes out and I threw it in the garbage. Now he was upset, but too bad. And I wasn't even a doctor at the time.
You got to make a dent.
Right.
Keep making it
and teach our kids.
Got to make a dent.
As we're doing it, you need to teach your children, okay? Right. Because if we don't teach children, and then the government's got to make it, you know, the prices are going up now. Not everybody can afford to eat as healthy as they should.
Right.
You've got to learn the government has got to help make it better so that people can make those better choices, right? If it's cheaper for a woman to go to McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken and buy dinner for her family for 2 days, then they're not going to make the healthiest of choices, right? And then the kids are going to get used to that and they're not going to. So we also need the government to work with us to make sure, you know, we have Black farmers that need to be supported.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right.
I mean, come on. We can get healthy food from them, right?
Right.
So a lot of socioeconomics, you know, what's called the social determinants of health that impact our health also. But again, we have to advocate. We have to do what we can do. I'm going to do what I can do for you, but you're part of this equation. Okay? Right. So you have to also take care of yourself and do your part.
Right. Well, Dr. Walker, I hear the music. I can't believe it's time for us to say goodbye. When I tell you, you are a jewel. You are so being a blessing to our community. And I know you're such a blessing to those who you serve. You know, if ever I need to come and see a doctor, I'm coming to see you, because when I tell you, you have blessed us on today. Thank you for all the information that you shared. I know that it made a difference to our listeners. You've been listening to We Got Issues on 9:10 a.m. The Superstation.
And remember, 1% of Black men, 1% of men get breast cancer. So men, check your breasts too.
Right. Absolutely. Men, check your breasts. We absolutely want you to be vigilant as well. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Walker. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.